Hello and welcome. Today we will be discussing the debate between Ark Survival Evolved and the game Rust. We'll be discussing different playstyles, replayability, combat, and boss fights. We'll also be discussing lore, in which I mean the story. So let's dive in. Beginning at playstyles. Now, Ark Survival Evolved is one of my favourite games, but I will try my best to be as non-biased as possible. Ark Survival Evolved has a PvP playstyle and a survival playstyle, and even the possibility for roleplay if that's what you want to do. Whereas, on the other hand, Rust is a most essentially combat game, or PvP game, and this leads to people becoming disinterested in the game and having a lack of things to play. It is the main factor which drove me off of Rust, since I'm not that good in PvP, and it's not the kind of play style I search for in games, and is the reason that I prefer Ark. And then we'll be moving on to replayability. Now, I put this section in thinking of how there are several different maps to Ark, but with Rust there is infinite possibilities. There is random map generation. There's not a select story, so everything will catch you off guard. There's nothing you can expect to happen, and there's no seen things that can happen. Whereas with Ark, it's more of, at least with the story maps, a more linear timeline, and that creates this allows for the game to be played through several times, with different possible playstyles in mind. Maybe you want to play through the game on a PvP server and have the challenge of the environment plus the players around you, or you could play solo like I commonly do, and just get through the island yourself, even make it harder if you really want to, and apply challenges and stuff like that. Ark also comes with a hardcore mode, giving the possibility for higher difficulty, which is less prominent in Rust, since the difficulty depends on the server you choose and the way other people decide to play. Next we'll be moving on to combat, and as much as I love Ark, I do feel as if Rust does take the win on this factor, and this is because Rust has a larger arsenal of weaponry, whereas Ark has a more limited selection of guns. I mean, there's the long neck, the primitive shotgun, the basic pistol, and then there's the fabricated weaponry, including the fabricated sniper, fabricated shotgun, fabricated rifle, and fabricated pistol, as well as the tech weaponry, the railgun, the tech rifle, and the mechs. But Rust has designed its game to be more centered around PvP playstyles, with more defensive and offensive building designs, whereas Ark has even had updates and has supported mods to influence the more roleplay side of the game, and less so the combat, since it's kind of a game designed for you to work together with other people and try and beat the big bad guys, like the alpha dinosaurs, and the bosses. And speaking of bosses, the next thing we're going on to is the boss fights. Now, on Rust, there is no distinct boss fights as far as I believe. I guess you could consider large base raids as boss fights, but there's no stage music, special music at least, for you to battle this big foe with. One of my friends informs me that there is a large boat you can go to, which has lots of enemies and, at the end, lots of loot. But I do think that Ark does have the upper hand when it comes to this, since it has staged boss fights, individual boss designs, individual moves for the bosses. I mean, separating minorly when it comes to the Crystal Wyvern, which is a non-story based boss, the Queen Crystal Wyvern, I mean, from the Crystal Isles. Look, I guess officialized mod. And this means that Ark can be speedrun, since there is an ending to the game, and the feeling of actually working towards something really adds to the gameplay, and it allows you to just get really sucked into the game and appreciate how the game works and the music that's gone into it. There's a mini documentary about that. There's an entire orchestra playing some of the boss music. It's one of the best experiences you can have in gaming, to fight a boss in Ark Survival Evolved. And in my opinion, that just absolutely takes the win. But then we'll be talking about the story of these games. Now, as far as I'm concerned, there is no story to Rust. There is possibly a fan-made storyline, but that's something I'm not quite aware of, and I may make an update video to this video, possibly discussing any lore about the game Rust. But when it comes to Ark, the story is outstanding, and the way that it's not hardwired into the gameplay, and that it's an optional thing, but it does help you understand what's really happening around you, really adds to the gameplay, because you can go and collect these explorer notes of these mysterious people who you don't really know, and you don't know which order to collect them in. So you kind of have to patch together this story of events and understand how it all fits together. Now, there is a lack of reward for collecting the Explorer Notes. I mean, you get a small XP boost whenever you collect them, but that's basically it. The XP boost is quite helpful, I will admit, but it is just XP. I mean, it allows you to craft stuff, but it doesn't actually give you anything. Now, whilst talking about this, I have thought up a couple extra factors which I may include into another video, but I think it's just reaching 10 minutes now, and I feel as if that's just long enough. So, as far as I'm concerned right now, if you're considering buying either of these games, if you're not quite sure which one to get, I would suggest Ark Survival Evolved over Rust. If you're aiming more for survival gameplay and story gameplay. Whereas if you prefer PvP games, Rust is definitely the preferred option. There is a large I guess you could call it a pay gap, a price gap, but Ark is far more affordable. It does have a higher average price of about 40 to 50 quid, Great British pounds. Not quite sure how many it is in dollars. I'll throw that up on the screen now. But Rust has very rare sales, and usually it's not much off, whereas Ark has very common sales, lowering it down to about £8, meaning you can get a AAA game for the cost of half the cost of Slime Rancher. Whereas Rust, the lowest I've ever seen it go is £12, which is a decent amount more than Rust. So if the price is a big factor for you, then Ark is far more affordable. The base game, whereas the DLCs can actually be quite expensive, the most expensive being the Genesis DLCs, costing £30 for both of them in a bundle. You can get the Season Pass, which permanently gives you all of the DLCs as far as I know, and it's just like a little bit added on to the average price of the game. I think you can get that during the sale, allowing for a really good deal if you want to get the entire game. But overall, I would favour Ark over Rust, since Ark has a lot more options for play than Rust, and I think it's more open to different groups of people. Anyway, I think that will be it for now. If you've enjoyed, please click the like button and subscribe if you wish to. It will help with my brain. And click the notification